day. We pulling off a 2-a-day situation. Wasn't expecting it. Got a little downtime in between sessions here. So here I am, and I got something else that I would like to get off my chest. So again, hopefully y'all got about another 45 minutes to chop it up with the kid. Like I said, we back for part 2, round 2 for the day. Pulling off a double shift on the YouTube today, man. Again, like I said, we always got things to build on. So again, this is a spontaneous joint. Didn't know I would have this downtime, but here I am, back for part 2. Rayshawn, peace. If you missed the earlier stream, here we go, giving y'all some more jewels for the day. Because again, knowledge is infinite. Knowledge is infinite, so we always got somewhere we can pull some information from, or some knowledge from, or some inspiration, motivation, all of that. Because it's infinite. Salacious, the good kid, peace. What's happening? Andrew, peace. What's the word? You know, y'all see the subject matter for this one. This was something that I was just thinking about, so I'm like, let me tap in. Let me build, let me tap in. TZ, Goddess, Isis, peace. What's happening? What's the word? You know, we talking about the popularity of choosing sides versus remaining neutral or centered or balanced, you know, or looking in the mirror. You know, it's more profitable. It's more lucrative for us to choose a side. And y'all know what I'm talking about. The good kid, hey, gotta do what's best for you, man. Gotta do what's best for you. You know, it may make you feel down temporarily, but in the long run, you're gonna feel better about that decision because you have to do what's best for you. Deja, peace, what's happening? What's the word? But yeah, that's the popular move. Jasmine, peace queen, what's happening? That's the popular move. That's why that's all that you see these days. You know, that's why that's all that you see. We gonna choose a side. People don't understand or think that you can look at things from a centered and balanced or neutral perspective. You know, when I'm in the center, I'm able to see both sides from like the same vantage point, from like the same distance. You know, so I'm not one-sided, I'm not one-dimensional. I'm not leaning towards one side more heavily than the other. When I stand in the center, I'm able to see things equally on both sides. You know, that's what it means to remain neutral. And then just looking in the mirror, because let's be realistic, all right? As a man, let's just say I'm a man. I feel like it's very ignorant for me. If I'm a man, I'm dating women, I feel like it's very ignorant for me to put all women in a box. Realistically speaking, I have not dated or talked to all the women that exist within the United States. Haven't come close to that. So how can I speak from a standpoint that I act like I know the tendencies of all women? And why would I be foolish enough to think there is no woman that fits a certain criteria that I may have? That's stupid. You know what I'm saying? That's just stupid to place them all in a box based off of the small amount that you have dated, and vice versa. That's dumb to do. You know what I'm saying? Just because you may not have met the one person that you need to meet doesn't mean that they all got to fit in some type of box. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to do that. That's ignorant. But what I do know and what I can judge things based off of is my choices. The choices that I have made in regards to relationships or whatever the case may be. I can judge that. That makes more sense to judge than me just placing everybody in a box. That's a cop-out to put everybody inside the same exact box and just make it look like this whole entire side is trash. Because I have chosen 5 on this side and it's turned out to be trash and chaotic. So let me just put all of them in a box. That's a cop-out. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look in the mirror and say, okay, I've made a decision 5 times and neither one of them worked out. What's up? That's me looking in the mirror. That's going to help me solve a problem, opposed to me placing the blame on a group of people. You know, when I look in the mirror, when I center myself and I look in the mirror, I'm able to see where I have went wrong. And I made a comment, or I made a post on Facebook, and I said something along those lines. You know, when things go wrong in these relationships, it always go back to you. And that's a hard pill for people to swallow. It always goes back to you. The easiest thing to do is to blame. Such and such ain't do X, Y, and Z. Such and such ain't do this, that, and the third. Well, what did you do? Or what didn't you do? So again, when you start analyzing your history when it comes to like relationship choices and things like that, always tap into self. Because I guarantee you that you played a role in all of these relationships that didn't work out. Guarantee you played a role. But everybody wants to appear as if they are perfect and they did everything right and exact. And it was solely the other people that was responsible for them not finding happiness in these relationships. First of all, you shouldn't be seeking happiness in these relationships. You know what I'm saying? The happiness should be something that's already activated. You know, so a lot of times we seeking the wrong things from these other people and we wondering why the stuff not working out. The moment you make it someone else's responsibility to bring you some type of happiness and peace, like, nah, that's incorrect. You should not be throwing that on somebody else's shoulder. Like, all right, I'm getting with this person. I'm expecting them to bring me peace. I'm expecting them to bring me happiness. Like, no, that's really not their job. It's your job. You know what I'm saying? To activate the happiness and the peace, because you're the only one that can truly do that. Shantae, Peace Queen, what's happening? Welcome back. Welcome back to all the people that was tapped in earlier. Oh, TZ, hey, that book, hey, right and exact. The good kid, you say she wanted nothing but the money. And there you go. You know, when they reveal the true intentions, let them go. If those true intentions do not line up with your principles, with what you want out of a situation, leave it be. Leave them be. Don't waste time. Don't waste time, man. Listen, what they say, time waits for no man. Time waits for no woman. So don't waste time. Again, when somebody is revealing something to you, accept it. You know, accept it. Andrew, exactly. You gotta tap in internally. And again, just look at everything from that neutral standpoint. That's basically being objective. But like I said, what's popular these days is for me to choose a side. Whether I'm choosing to side with the brothers, because I am a brother, or whether I'm choosing to side with the women. You know, that's the most popular thing to do. You know, it's not popular to look in the mirror and tell other people to look in the mirror. You know, stop looking at everybody else. You know what I'm saying? If you're a woman and you dating dudes and it's not working out, it's not popular for me to tell you, what are you doing wrong? Or suggest that. Maybe it's you. It's not popular. What's popular is to say, oh, okay, all these women out here, they dating these dudes and it's not working out. What's popular is for me to choose a side and say, yeah, these dudes trash. That's why y'all can't find a good dude, and vice versa. You know, if dudes out here dating women and it ain't working out for them, it's more popular. It's more popular for me to choose a side and roll with the brothers in that regard. Like, yeah, these women ain't this, that, and the third. That's popular instead of me telling the dudes or suggesting that, hey, it might be you. It might not necessarily be them. Because again, that's easy. You may have been trying to get somebody to move in a certain way in which they wasn't ready to move. That's your fault. Because again, people are giving you signs, man. People are letting you know that they not ready to make certain shifts in their lives, man. So again, if somebody is giving you these signs and they letting you know that they not ready for this type of lifestyle, you still trying to force it, that's really on you. If somebody is displaying behavior that they not ready for some things that you striving to implement or bring to the surface for them to implement, it's on you. That's literally on you. You know what I'm saying? You are literally responsible for that. That's on you. You trying to force somebody to be a person that they are not ready to be. How is that not your fault? You know what I'm saying? You trying to change a person. How is that not your fault? You come into the situation and you want this lady to be X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C, and she ain't ready to be none of that. You know what I'm saying? She ain't ready to be any of that. So again, you trying to force a situation that, again, we know the only thing that's met with force is resistance. And a lot of people don't tell that side of the story. They just make it seem like mugs are just disobedient and things like that. Again, I hear you. But if a person is not ready to make certain changes, then that's what it is. Again, just think about it. Just analyze yourself. How many times have people come to you and tried to get you to make certain lifestyle changes, but you didn't make it at the time that they recommended it to you? Everybody got experiences like that. I know I do. I know some people came to me that if I would have implemented what they had suggested back in the day, things would be different for me right now today. But I wasn't ready for it at the time. So I didn't listen. I didn't comprehend the message at that time. Then 5, 10 years later, I'm like, dang, man, if I would have just listened to such and such back then, I'd be in a much better predicament. But I wasn't ready for it. Relationships are the same way, man. If you a dude and you entertaining a young lady and you coming with some valuable lifestyle changes and she ain't going for it, it ain't necessarily meaning that she's disobedient and all that type of jazz. It may just mean she's not ready to make these changes, man. She's not ready for these changes just yet. And it's just not meant to be. If you're ready for her to make these changes right now and she letting you know that she's not ready, it's not meant to be at this current moment. Accept that and run with it. But instead, we try to force it. And then it ends up blowing to a head and then that's when we want to just go off. You shouldn't have tried to force it, man. You shouldn't have tried to force it, man. Again, the only thing that's met with force is resistance. You're going to get a lot of resistance, man. You're going to get a lot of pushback when you try to change a person that's not ready for change. That's not ready for evolution. Again, hey, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You know what I'm saying? But if they not ready, doesn't matter what you tell them. Marcel, peace. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Oh, magic for sure. For sure, 100%. You know, and that's why that's why I always go back to self. Like, I'm proud of the culture that I come from because, again, we take everything and we apply it back to self. Apply it back to self. You know, that I love it. I love accountability and I love bringing everything back to self. Like, at the end of the day, that's like the greatest thing that you can do. Bring it back to yourself. Bring it back to you. Because, again, all these other people, like, they going to come and they going to go. Like I said, the only thing that's going to remain constant is you. So why not deal with that? Why not say, okay, all of this is happening, so let me deal with myself. Let me see my role in all of these outcomes. I guarantee you, man, like I said, we all want to make ourselves look perfect. You know, I didn't talk to people just like y'all didn't talk to people as far as relationships go and dating go. I can tell y'all out the gate, like I can point to my flaws. I can point to things I've done wrong, you know, and that's more what I focus on. I don't really care about what other people that did. Because, again, you're not going to ever be in a situation where you're 100% satisfied with how somebody is moving. They're going to always have some traits that you're not necessarily too fond of that you just end up tolerating and accepting and things like that. So at the end of the day, it's real simple for me to be like, I don't like, they was doing this and they ain't like that. They was doing that and they ain't like it. You know, they was moving in the way and I wasn't too fond of that. It's easy to do that. That's easy. Like I said, the cop out. But it's one thing to look at yourself and say, man, I lack patience. My communication is off. Sometimes a lot of times I don't like to be bothered and things like that. Man, I got a temper issue. Things like that, man. That's the hard part. Introspection. When you start looking at yourself and you realize that, man, maybe I'm a complicated person to be with. You know what I'm saying? That's hard. That's what a lot of people don't do. Everybody want to feel like it's a blessing to be with them. Like, everybody want to feel like that. Like, oh man, people like, nah, man, sometimes you might not be as good of a person as you think you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to sometimes think about that. Oh, Andrew, for sure. And yeah, you got to sometimes think about that. Maybe you not as decent as you think you are. You know, like I said, everybody swear up and down they a decent person. Well, we're all the bad people. Like, nobody is going to admit to being bad. Nobody's going to do that. Like, ain't nobody going to do that. Everybody good. Everybody decent. Everybody treat everybody right. Well, how everybody out here get mistreated if that's the case, man? People got to look in that mirror, though. People got to look in that mirror, man. That's the only way that a lot of these problems are going to get solved, man, when people just look in the mirror and just constantly evaluate self and constantly make changes in regards to self, instead of trying to put this on other people and saying what other people need to do and focusing on other groups. Oh, women need to do this and men need to do that. Dude, you stupid if you feel like all men and women are. It's like, don't put them in the box. Like, come on, man. We too old to be continuing to place people in these boxes, man. Like, we too old to be doing that. We should, at this point in the game, understand that that's childish behavior to place people in boxes, man. So when I see content and they generalizing and they talking about women, they talking about men, and they literally generalizing, placing men, women in boxes, like, that is ridiculous, man. That's childish. And why would you tap into something like that that's childish, man? Everybody's path is different. Everybody's path is different, you know? So what somebody else did, the route somebody else traveled, may not be the right route for somebody else, for the next person. So again, everybody's path, everybody's journey is different, man. Montel, peace, what's happening? Welcome back. So again, placing individuals in these boxes, like, is weird. And that's what's happening for the most part on a lot of platforms, and just in general when you're talking to people. They throw everybody in a box as if they've dated all the women in the United States and abroad. Like, they've dated all women so they can give you the game on all the women out here. Come on, man. Come on, man. At the end of the day, all you need to do is find the right one for you. You don't need, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need to find the right one. At the end of the day, that's all you need. Now, again, if you're dealing with polygamy and you feel like you should have multiple, then that's on you. But at the end of the day, you just need the right one out of how many? You know what I'm saying? You just need to find the right one. You know, at the end of the day, that's it. So with that being said, you're going to come across a lot of situations that's not going to work. You know, that's natural and that's normal, man. You're not gonna get it right. You're gonna get it wrong more times than you get it right. Because you only really gotta get it right one time. So just think about just do the math, man. If you only gotta get it right one time, listen, guess how many times you probably gonna get it wrong before you get it right that one time? Like, seriously. You know, it's probability, man. It's statistics, man. Like, if I only need to get it right one time, best believe I'm gonna get it wrong a handful of times or a boatload of times, man, before I get it right. Best believe. You're gonna get it wrong more times than you get it right. So that's nothing to stress over, man. That's nothing to stress over. Again, like, you done placed yourself in certain situations and they not working. Don't stress out. You know, don't stress over it. Boom, move on to the next, man. Either move on to the next or focus on yourself. Like, that's how you do that. Either boom, move on to the next situation. But I don't recommend that, man, especially when you keep jumping from situation to situation. Like, I don't recommend jumping from situation to situation. That could get a little, you know what I'm saying? That could get a little tricky. We need not do that. So again, when you start finding yourself in situations and they consistently not working out, boom, step back. The real piece, what's happening? You know, at that point, you got to step back and say, okay, all right, what's happening? Let me get myself together. Confessions and therapy, piece, what's happening? You know, but at the end of the day, that's not what we want to do. We run from ourselves. So running from ourselves, we run toward distractions. And a lot of times, man, to be real, a lot of the relationships that we jump into are nothing more than distractions. You know, it's nothing more than us running from ourselves. That's what a lot of these relationships are for the most part. You know, we distracting ourselves by being with somebody. A lot of people can't fathom being with themselves because they are afraid of what they may uncover. You know, if they remain with themselves for too long, you know, all those past traumas that they have repressed for so long or suppressed for so long, gonna come back to the surface. So they need to distract themselves. They need to lose themselves in a relationship. So to be honest with you, a lot of these relationships are nothing more than distractions. Nothing more than people running from themselves. Like at the end of the day, that's what a lot of people are doing, man. A lot of people can't fathom being with themselves. So let me go find somebody to be with. You know what I'm saying? Let me go jump in a relationship. You know, let me go run from being alone. Let me go jump to this guy, from that guy to this guy, from this woman to that woman to that woman. Let me go do that. Because if you be alone for too long, the truth gonna start rising to the top. What do you say? The cream always rises to the top. That's the truth. So the truth gonna start rising to the top. And again, you're gonna start, you know what I'm saying, some harsh realities are going to start to surface for you. And you're gonna have to start making changes. So let me lose myself. Chris, peace, what's happening with you, my brother? So a lot of people, man, at the end of the day, I ain't gonna say they lose themselves in relationships because they was already lost to begin with. But they bury themselves deeper in these relationships, you know, so they really not able to identify themselves. And you see it all the time, man. A lot of people, the lack of identity in a relationship, you know, because you was jumping in these relationships running from yourself. And you realize that 10, 15 years in the game, that all of a sudden you like, man, I don't feel fulfilled. I see a lot of women do this, you know, a lot of women end up with this type of mentality. A lot of women, you know, a lot of women end up in a situation where they done made all of these sacrifices, and basically the sacrifice was they neglected themselves. And then they end up in a situation, they've been in it for like 10, 15 years, and they realize like something is missing. What that something, and again, a lot of times when we say something is missing or when we speak on something missing, we blame it on the other person. Then we start doing things like cheating. Well, at the end of the day, what's really missing has to do with yourself. You neglected yourself. That's what's missing. You know, so a lot of times, man, you hear people say, man, I did X, Y, and Z because something was missing. Yeah, it was something within yourself that was missing. That's why you went and did what you did. But you wanted to blame it on the other person and said they was lacking something. No, you were lacking something. You neglected yourself all these years. And that's the fulfillment that you was missing. Hence why when you go cheat, you still don't feel fulfilled. Because it ain't got nothing to do with that other person. It has everything to do with yourself. You neglected yourself for all those years. And now you lack an identity. You don't know who you are. You don't know what your purpose is. You feel way more lost than you did 10 years ago. So now you about to go out here and you finna blame everybody else for this lack of identity, for this lack of fulfillment, when really it revolves around you neglecting yourself. A person that hasn't neglected themselves, they not about to be in a situation with a person and say, oh, this person is missing something. No, I'm fulfilled internally. All you can really do is be a bonus to my fulfillment. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not finna look at you like, oh, something is lacking, so let me go out here and do something that's irresponsible. Nope. Because a person that's fulfilled internally, if we feel like a person is not complimenting us, we gonna move on. You know what I'm saying? We're not gonna look at this person and say something is missing, let me go cheat. Like, nah, we gonna be fulfilled enough internally to be like, you know what? This ain't working out. We need to split. We need to split. Like, that's how that's gonna work. But a lot of times, man, you see people start cheating and doing weird stuff, and they start blaming it on the other person and saying they lack something. No, you lack something. And you trying to use that person that you're in a relationship with as the scapegoat for you neglecting yourself over all them years. But again, nobody wants to hold themselves accountable for their bad decisions. So it's easier for me to blame somebody for cheating opposed to saying that's on me. So it's easier for me to be like, I cheated because she was X, Y, and Z. That's easy to do. Instead of me saying, you know what? I neglected myself over all these years. I lack an identity. I really don't know what it is that I want out of my life. And I never dealt with it. I was always running for myself. And I was always running into these relationships. So I never had the time to sit down with myself to really figure out what it is that I wanted in life. That's on me. I made that decision. I made that bad decision, that irresponsible decision because I neglected myself. That's accountability. Dean, what's happening? B, peace, what's happening? Yeah, B, people do it all the time. All the time. I see it all the time. So again, like I said, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Don't blame that person. Don't be like, oh, like, listen, you was with this person for 10 years. Whatever it is you accusing them of lacking, they was lacking that 10 years ago when you got with them. You know, so don't try to blame that on them now. You know what I'm saying? You weren't doing it 10 years ago. So you neglected yourself and you mad. And then, heck, the person that you might be with, they might be living their purpose. And you just people don't understand. People be jealous of each other in relationships. This type of stuff happens. TRK peace, what's happening? You know, so don't take it out on the other person. You know, don't project what they say. Don't project your insecurities on somebody else. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. And again, that's what a lot of people tend to do. Got to stop doing that, man. Again, you made the decision. You chose to be irresponsible. You chose to neglect yourself. Nobody forced you to do any of this. Nobody forced you to jump into this relationship or this situation that you was in, you know? So nobody forced you to do it. If you wasn't satisfied with yourself, if you felt like you was lacking an identity and a purpose, like nobody was stopping you from saying, you know what, I'm going to hold off on this situation and I'm going to find myself, you know? I'm going to find myself. I'm not about to neglect myself and get in a situation and make that sacrifice. That's not a sacrifice you should be making. You should never be striving to neglect yourself as a sacrifice. That's not a flex at all. That's not going to end well for anybody. When you neglecting yourself, that's terrible. You know, that's the recipe for disaster. That's a big recipe for disaster, man, neglecting yourself. And then claiming you about to jump into a situation. No. You know, you asking to be in a chaotic situation. And as a person that doesn't neglect themselves, you got to be mindful of that. You with a person and they lack this identity. They lack this purpose. Man, you better be doing everything in your power to see to it that they activate this purpose. You know what I'm saying? And they find this identity, because you don't want to be with that. You do not want to be with said individual, because it's going to get to a point where they're going to take all of that out on you. They're going to blame all of that on you. They're going to blame their lack of identity, their lack of purpose, their lack of fulfillment on you. So you don't want to be that person. So again, if you're dealing with a person, man, and they feel like they don't have an identity, they don't know what their purpose is, you got to be mindful of that. I'm not saying you got to automatically ditch them, but you got to see to it that you're doing everything in your power to help them on that journey. And make sure that they don't neglect that. Because again, at the end of the day, they're going to blame you for it. They're going to blame you. I know people that have been in that situation. They're going to blame you for them not pursuing their dreams in life. Yeah, if I wouldn't have been in this situation, I would have been able to do X, Y, and Z. Well, I wasn't stopping you from doing it. So don't blame that on me. You know, but at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen. The longer y'all remain together and that person doesn't fulfill their dreams and their purposes, like the harder they're going to blame you for it. You know what I'm saying? Like they gonna literally blame you for that. Been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? Like they gonna blame you for their lack of being in shape. You know what I'm saying? They gonna blame you for them not pursuing the career field that they wanted to pursue. They gonna blame you for not having the amount of money that they feel like they should have. They gonna blame you for all of them circumstances. Everything that they wanted, that they figured out they wanted out of life, they end up not getting. They gonna blame you for it. You the reason why they didn't have time to pursue the dream, pursue the goal, conquer this, conquer that. We ain't got time for that. Kuma, for sure. Dean, what you say, this is true. I was confused about why some people ghosted me after I accomplished things in my 20s and attained knowledge of self. Oh, yeah, for sure. You know what I'm saying? We know why that happens. That definitely happened to me around the same time. You know, right after I graduated high school, boom. Stuff got real weird. You know, and I was able to, you know what I'm saying? I was able to peep game. That's how I dodged a lot of situations. You know, again, when you in tune with yourself, you're able to peep game and you're able to dodge situations because you tapped in. You are literally tapped in. When you tapped in, man, I'm telling you, you're able to dodge and prevent situations. That's why I encourage people, get tapped in with self. You gonna dodge a lot of situations because you gonna be alert. What they call conscious. You're gonna be alert though. You're gonna be aware. You're gonna be like, hold on, this don't feel right. You know what I'm saying? When you in tune, things ain't feeling right. That gut feeling, you know what I'm saying? That gut feeling be right and exact. That's the second brain. So when you talking to a person, it ain't gonna feel right. When you in tune, it ain't gonna feel right. It's not gonna feel right. When you in tune, that gut gonna instantly be like, nah. And just listen to it. Like when you in tune with yourself, that gut gonna automatically be like, yeah, this ain't what you thinking it's gonna be. Like you don't really want this. You know what I'm saying? You was gravitating towards this for the wrong reasons. That's what that gut gonna start saying to you. Listen to it. Telling you, when you talking to a person and you asking the right questions and you listening, that gut gonna always give you a response. It's gonna always let you know something. Always. It's always gonna let you know something when you tapped in. When you in tune with yourself, that gut, that mind, all that, it gonna let you know. They gonna let you know. You know, even when you're not tapped in sometimes, they still let you know, but we just ignore them joints. So never ignore the signs. Like I said, when I got tapped in, man, I'm telling you, I was alert. I was paying attention. I would pay attention to everything. So I'm like, man, a lot of things wasn't sitting well with me. So I dodged a lot of situations. And I'm talking about it would be like just instant, like boom. They said something. I'm like, hold on, what? You said what now? Nah, this ain't gonna work. Mervin, peace, what's happening? You know, that happened a lot back in the day. You know what I'm saying? I'll be tapped in, I'm just listening to people, and I'm like, hey man, such and such is tripping. Like, what are they talking about? Like, I ain't dealing with that. Cause you tapped in. When you tapped in, like I said, man, things get bigger than you just spitting game and trying to, you know what I'm saying, talk to women just for some sex and things like that. Like when you really tapped in, you listening to what people are actually saying to you. You looking at the body language. You studying their patterns, like how they moving on social media, outside of social media. Like, man, you doing a knowledge to this person. You know, you thoroughly examining said person. And again, like I said, when you do that, like the smallest of things, you gonna catch them all. You gonna be like, wait, what? Wait a minute, this is what you fool with? But if I wasn't tapped in, I would have missed that. And then 5-10 years into the situation, I would have finally caught it. But when you tapped in, you catch that early. You catch that early in the beginning. You know, when people claim, oh, I didn't know such and such was crazy. I didn't know such. Nah, because you weren't asking the right questions and you wasn't paying attention. If you would have paid attention, you would have already picked up on that. Like, listen, when dudes be acting like they ain't know a woman was, man, listen, come on. All the signs that everybody be giving off, man, come on. And vice versa for the women. When you claim you ain't know a dude with all the signs they be giving off, like really, like I be picking up, like when like for instance, when a woman would come to me and be like, man, I ain't know this dude was like X, Y, and Z, and I know dude personally, I'm like, man, I instantly picked up on that vibe. Soon as I met dude. So I'm like, oh man, you fell for the game, huh? You wasn't able to read between those lines, huh? You know what I'm saying? He sold you a nice game, huh? And you bought it. You know, so that's always funny to me, man. I pick up on them things instantly. Shakira, peace, what's happening? Oh yeah, Shakira. That K-Dot, that Kendrick, definitely a personal album and whatnot. You know, definitely personal. You know, that's how I interpret that album. So it's cool, man. So we appreciate the introspection. You know, that album basically was dude looking in the mirror and whatnot. So yeah, I definitely can rock with. I can rock with anything like that for the most part. I can respect anything like that. You know, when an artist deals with introspection and put it on a record and put it in album form, I can always dig that. Always. You know, that N95 from that album, I think that's like my favorite song on that joint. And then the one song with him and the girl going back and forth, I forget the name of that. But yeah, that song, that's pretty reflective in regards to how a lot of our situations are. Kuma for sure. And a lot of people don't understand that. You know, like I said, like you said, just because you can don't mean you should. So I was in plenty of situations where I could have did things to women, just didn't. Like I didn't want that. Like, I don't know about y'all, but man, my conscience is a monster. Like when you extra tapped in, it's like your conscience is extra sensitive. Yeah, Marcel, yeah, we cry together. That's it. But yeah, when you tapped in, man, your conscience becomes extra sensitive. So it was like when I got tapped in, I didn't even feel right using women. You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't feel right to me. It ain't feel right. I got some personal stories that I can dive into that I'm not really necessarily gonna do. But it was situations where I didn't like like where I didn't do things with women back in the day and they got mad. And I'm looking, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking out for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not doing this and I'm protecting you. You know, you should be happy I'm not a dude that like, let me just go ahead and knock her down just because I can. You know, I realized I'm like, man, I'm not really feeling this whole situation, so I'm gonna walk away from this. I'm not about to do this with you just because I can. Just to get a body under my belt. Man, I walked away from plenty of situations like that, and the women actually got upset. So I was like, wow, I'm like, whoa. Because I got enough respect for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all respect for you. Like, I don't want to do you like that. Like, I don't want to include you in my body count just because and then walk away. Because I'm knowing that this is what I'm going to end up doing. So I had situations where chicks, they got mad at me for doing that. And I'm like, man, y'all claim y'all want honesty, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this under these circumstances. Like, this ain't, like, I'm not really, like, right now I'm in a savage state. If I do this, I know this ain't going to end in nothing serious. So, like, it would be cool if we just don't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you getting mad at me for? I'm looking out for you. And then what's crazy is some of the same chicks that I'm talking about, they end up going to have sex with any and every dude after that. And I'm like, exactly. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, exactly. That confirms my good decision. So again, like I said, I tapped into some things early on. I'm like, I'm not finna do this because for one, I don't really trust you. You know what I'm saying? I don't trust you like that. You know, and it got confirmed after I rejected it. And maybe me rejecting them and they did those things out of spite to try to make me feel some type of way, which I didn't, because I'm like, dude, I was looking out for you. I could have easily just did something to you just to do it and then moved on and had you feeling all in your feelings. But I feel like that's one thing I'm not going to tamper with when it comes to a woman. If you know, and a lot of, like, some women don't feel that same way about themselves, so they out here throwing their bodies out, you know, but it's some dudes that respect the woman's body more than some of these women. You know, I was one of them at that point. Thunder, peace, what's happening? Okay, cool, peace, what's happening? So I had a few situations like that. Specifically when I was in college, man, I dodged some situations. I'm like, man, I ain't finna take it this far with you because I know where my mind is at right now. And my mind ain't in the best of spaces. Like, this ain't gonna end well. So I don't even want to go through this. But like I said, I could have spit the game to him and I could have added them to my body count. Could have did it. Could have just been like, all right, man, I'm just gonna keep this up, get what I want, dip. Nope. Wasn't about to do all of that. Okay, cool, man. Exactly. And that's what happens. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happens when you're not tapped in. That's how it unfolds, you know? But again, introspection. You learn from that. You able to acknowledge that was the case, and you learn from it. You learn from, you like, all right, man, I wasn't tapped in, wasn't conscious, no knowledge of myself. Boom, and this is what happened. This is what unfolded. It all stems from being tapped in. No better way to be than tapped in. Like I said, man, I dodged some situations. I dodged some situations simply by remaining tapped in or being tapped in with myself, man. And again, like I said, that made some women mad at the time. But I'm like, nah, I'm not about to do this. I'm not about to continue this situation when I know that I don't want to continue this situation. You know, because I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to add you to my body count. And again, that's like, man, I don't know, man, but when you start doing things to these women like that, they get, man, emotionally invested, at least at this time, the time that I'm talking about. You know, nowadays, things are a little different. But back then, like, man, you don't want to be playing with a woman like that. So I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't on that vibe. Dean, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? That's the exact situation. It's like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work out, and they still pressing the issue. Like you said, back in like high school, you know what I'm saying? I would have been like, all right, cool. She's dumb, so I'm just gonna play her according to that. I'm like, now I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna keep it pushing. Like, dude, I'm trying to tell you that this is not that. It will never be that. So, okay, I'm gonna save you the trouble. I'm gonna exit this situation. You're gonna be mad at me temporarily, but you're gonna thank me later down the line. Cause it's like, I know what space I'm in. This is not gonna work. Oh yeah, cool, man, for sure. I'm not playing with a woman's emotions at all. Like, I don't got time for that. You know, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't have time. I just don't have time for that. You know, I deal with universal laws a little too much for that. I did enough of that in high school, and you know what I'm saying? For that little short period of time, you know, that reciprocity that came back to me from that was not cool. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, man, we gotta put an end to that. Man, Thunder, man, and I hate to hear those stories. I hate to hear those stories, man. And a lot of times, man, that promiscuous behavior stems from, especially on the women's end. And matter of fact, not even the women's end. It stems from that on the men's end too. A lot of that promiscuous behavior stems from being touched as a child, and that's what's sick about it, man. And so sometimes you kind of get hip to that. Like, I don't know, sometimes you be tapped into that, and that's what kind of makes you uncomfortable with the situation. The wife is in the building, y'all say peace to the wife. And yes, sometimes you get hip to that before they even tell you. You know what I'm saying? And that makes you really uncomfortable. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you've been in a situation, you're like, man, they must have been, you know what I'm saying? They must have been touched or something as a child. And that's the reason behind this promiscuous behavior. You start to get uncomfortable. When you feel that way, you know what I'm saying? You start to get uncomfortable. You know, and you be like, hold up, like this ain't right here. You know, let's resolve this trauma from your childhood first, and then go from there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you start to feel about the situation, because it makes you uncomfortable when you feel like that's where it's coming from. You know what I'm saying? You start to feel like it really ain't genuine at that particular point. You like, this is stemming from some trauma from your childhood. Let's deal with this childhood trauma first. You know, and that applies to a lot of young men, a lot of young women. A lot of young men were touched, you know what I'm saying, when they was younger, you know, and that has affected them in their adult years, you know, and that leads to the promiscuous behavior and things like that. You know, so when you tapped into that, like, that's not good, you know, and dudes be taking advantage of that. Like, oh yeah, she's going. Well, she's going because she was touched by her uncle, you know what I'm saying, when she was 5, when she was 6, when she was 7. So you over here praising the fact that she going, but you don't know the reason why she going. Then when you get to the origin of why she going, now it's disgusting. Man, Mervin, I don't really even eat tofu like that. I ate tofu back in the day in college, and I was putting a lot of bell peppers and things like that in the joint. I made them joints like some eggs, but I don't really be eating tofu like that. But yeah, man, dudes be so happy to be like, oh my goodness, she going, she doing X, Y, and Z, like she going for it, man. She easy. But why is she easy though? Like, why is she easy? Let's get to the bottom of that. Then you get to the bottom of it, you might not be too happy that she's so easy now. you might be more disgusted. You know, so I don't know about y'all, but that's sickening to me when you find out why somebody is going and it stems from them being touched as a child. Like, that's sick. That's sick. Now I'm no longer bragging about the fact that she's going. Now it's like, man, I want to help you resolve this conflict. I don't want you to try to, you know what I'm saying, mask your pain through having sex. Like, no, that's a coping mechanism, man. And a lot of people don't understand that sex is a coping mechanism for a lot of people. A coping mechanism in the sense that we running from things that happened to us when we was a child. We haven't solved those conflicts. We haven't resolved those conflicts. And we trying to mask that reality through having sex. But people ain't ready for that conversation. People want to just make it seem like we sexual creatures and things like that. No, things happen to you. You know what I'm saying? You was exposed to certain things when you were a kid, and that led to that promiscuous behavior. And you just trying to hide that. You trying to hide that reality, man. You trying to mask that reality instead of dealing with it. You know what I'm saying? So again, man, stop running from yourself. You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to dodge those conflicts. Stop trying to dodge that trauma from your childhood. I know it's rough to deal with. I know it's rough to bring back to the surface, but that's the only way, as they say. To eradicate your fears, you must face them. If you're afraid of something, if something is bothering, the only way to conquer it is to look it right in its eyes. That's the only way to conquer anything in your life, man. You got to look right at it, right through it. That's the only way that you're going to conquer it. Seriously. You're not going to conquer anything by trying to bury it alive. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to conquer anything by striving to suppress it. It's not how you conquer anything, man. So again, if you went through something, the only way that you're going to conquer that, you know what I'm saying, the only way that you're going to conquer it is to bring it back to the surface and just reach some type of resolution. That's the only way. Like, that's the only way that you're going to get to the bottom of a situation, man. That's the only way. And that's the only way that you're going to solve some of your addictions and some of the things that you gravitate towards that may be a little excessive, like excessively. That's the only way that you're going to get to the bottom of those things. You know, so we gotta be mindful of that, man. Instead of being like, oh, man, such and such is going, such and such is a freak, and this, that, and the third. It might be a sick and sadistic reason behind this. You know? So again, man, we got to chill out on that, man. We got to chill out on all that, man. Stop being so happy about this stuff, man. For one, you should be a little suspect. Like, hold on, why? Like, hold on, this person was a little too easy. That don't make sense. You know, why was this person so easy? It shouldn't have been that easy to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you should be, you know what I'm saying? That should be concerning to you. But a lot of people don't look at situations like that. Instead, they're like, yes, she going, she easy. This easy. This gonna be an easy kill right here. Boom. Like, nah, that should be concerning. Like, hold on, man. Wait, why is it not taking much for me to get this from her? Like, what's happening here? What's the problem here? You know, what's up with her? Like, it was a little too easy for me to do this. Shouldn't be this easy. Because it really shouldn't. It should not be that easy. It shouldn't be that simple for a woman to just be giving it up to you. It should not be that easy. It should not be that simple, man. They definitely should be knowing their worth out here. So if they giving you something that is quite easy, you got to be suspect about that, man. You got to ask some questions. You got to ask some questions big time, man, because, again, that's concerning. That's very concerning. Oh, yeah, y'all, yeah. Tofu is a vegan joint. I just don't eat it like that. You know, so again, man, a lot of times, man, we want to go after what's easy instead of helping folks out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in the business of helping folks realize things about themselves. And again, it might be a harsh reality, it might be a harsh truth, something that they don't want to hear, but they need to hear it. You know, sometimes you got to be the bearer of bad news. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta help some people look in the mirror. You know, you gotta give some people the mirror. You know, like in real life, man, you just gotta give that person the mirror. Like, boom, here, man, look at yourself. Look at yourself. Give them the mirror. Give them the mirror and walk off. Like sometimes that's what you have to do, man. You have to give people that mirror, boom, hand it to them, and you walk completely off. So they can just sit there and they can look at themselves, man. That's what you gotta do. Maybe your role in their life was to give them the mirror or direct them toward the mirror. Like, all right, man, I'm gonna walk you to this mirror, take a look at yourself, you know what I'm saying? And then I'm gonna walk off. You know, here go your mirror. Boom, get to the bottom of your situation. TR, you say you do that often. You don't have many friends for sure. Like when you allow people to look in the mirror, or not allow people, when you when you kind of like assist people in regards to looking in the mirror, they're not gonna necessarily like that because people don't want to do that. You know, people want to look at the mirror in the sense of looking at everybody else. You know, when you hold that mirror behind you and you looking at other people through your mirror, that's what people want to do. Instead of placing that mirror here, they want to place it right here to where they can look at other people that's behind them. So they want to look at other people through that mirror, and they want to judge everybody else according to that mirror. You know, that's what they want to do instead of looking at, boom, all right, here we go. Kuma, for sure. Yeah, it's a lot of nonsense out here, man. A lot of it. Dean, what you say, easy, man, for real. Seriously. Seriously. I don't know. I feel a certain type of way about connection because a lot of times I feel like at the end of the day, connection is like it's pretty much one-sided, you know. I don't know, man. It's one-sided because again, like you can only speak in regards to connection. You can only speak on that for yourself. You can't speak on a connection for somebody else. You know, so you can only speak on a connection from yourself. And a lot of times, even that type of stuff is distorted. Again, a lot of things just end up rushing. We just got to be honest with the situation because at the end of the day, man, it takes people years to figure out themselves. Man, I lived 20 years of my life, 20 plus years of my life, and I had no clue of who I actually was. You know what I'm saying? So if it's taking me 20 plus years to figure out myself and connect with myself, how can I connect with another person in a matter of months and weeks? So just honestly assessing that situation, like even that type of stuff is distorted and tainted. Because at the end of the day, we dealing with a lot of people, especially when I'm talking to black folks, we dealing with a lot of people that's disconnected from our true selves. So if I lack a thorough knowledge of myself, how can I claim to be just connected totally to another person in a short period of time? Like, nah, like that's not real. That's not accurate. You know, so a lot of times we use that as a scapegoat as well. We start talking about connections and we start bringing in these concepts to make a situation what it really wasn't and what it really isn't. You know, at the end of the day, you could be dealing with a lustful situation. So a lot of times we don't want to call a situation what it actually was at the time. Now that situation could have developed into something more powerful years down the line, but at the time that it happened, it probably wasn't that. You know what I'm saying? So again, man, we dealing with a lot of people that lack a connection with themselves. And just honestly, when you in your 20s and you a black person, for the most part, 95% of that population, we not thoroughly connected to ourselves, man. At 20, we didn't have all of our conflicts resolved. Man, we didn't buried all of it. We didn't buried all of this trauma. We didn't buried all of these conflicts, and we ain't dealt with them at 20. You know what I'm saying? We ain't dealt with them at 25. We ain't dealt with them at 26. We still ain't dealing with them in our 30s and you know what I'm saying? In our mid 30s and late 30s. You know, so again, man, a lot of us are disconnected from ourselves, but claiming to be connected to everybody else and other people. Like, nah, like I said, we applying everything to self. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta work on that connection first. You know, and again, that's why a lot of people we jumping from situation to situation to situation. Because we running from that internal connection. You know what I'm saying? We running from that, from connecting with ourselves. It's like, again, it's like the person that's claiming to love everybody, but they not loving themselves. It's impossible. It's impossible. You don't love yourself, you not loving this other person. It's just not happening. You're not loving yourself. You're not satisfied with yourself. You are not loving this other person. You know what I'm saying? We going to have to use other words outside of love when it comes to how you feel about this other person. Because again, you have ran from yourself. Now you ran into this other situation as a form of a distraction. So it's more of an obsession. It's more of something that's dealing with lust. It's an escape. Those are the proper words. Those are the correct words for what's actually happening. Like, again, this stuff can develop into something powerful, but initially, man, we be misinterpreting what's going on a lot of times. Because again, like I said, especially when you dealing with, we got to understand, man, and again, it always goes back. This is part of knowledge of self, knowledge in one's history. When you dealing with, especially when you dealing with black folks, man, we tapping into history. We have a very corrupted history for the most part. And a lot of us do not know who we are. You know what I'm saying? We don't know who we are. We done had some traumatizing experiences. And when I say traumatizing experiences, I mean stuff that precedes our birth that was passed down. You know, when we talking about the collective unconscious and things like that. So we bothered in ways we don't really thoroughly understand at times because our ancestors, the people that were before us, didn't deal with them. You know, so it's a lot that's required to get tapped into oneself. So a lot of times we rushing into these situations, and that's the reason why we rushing into situations, because we don't want to deal with that. You know, instead of us calling it how it is, calling it what it is, you know, we try to justify it. Again, marketing 101, they tell you one thing. They tell you that we buy based off of emotion and we justify that with logic. So you making a purchase, you making an emotional purchase, and you try to justify it with logic. They say that's like 90% of what happens. You know what I'm saying? So when you got a purchase made, 90% of the time it's made emotionally. And I think that percentage is even higher. That's what happens with our lives. Like, we make emotional decisions and we try to justify them with some type of logic. And it's a distorted logic. You know, that's what we tend to do. Because again, if we really thoroughly assess the situation, it's going to go back to self, and it's going to go back to us uncovering some things or bringing some things to the surface that we're not comfortable with bringing to the surface. That's what's going to happen. And that's why we don't do that. So instead, we try to make some type of logical, we try to make some type of rational, we get some type of rational reasoning behind why this is happening. But we moved based on emotions. Like, literally, that's what we did. Just like when you went to the store, you made an emotional purchase and you thought it was conscious. But the people that's marketing to you, the people that's advertising to you, they know that this was not a conscious decision. But you're going to try to justify it based off of that. So you're going to try to justify it based off of logic. A lot of times we do that when we're dealing with other people. We made an emotional decision that was based on all type of emotions, and we justify it using some type of logic, when really it was an emotional decision at its foundation. Again, nothing is wrong with that, per se. But it becomes a problem when we try to justify using that logic instead of acknowledging it for what it actually was and is at the time. Because it makes it hard to like make improvements, and it makes it hard to evolve. You know, so a lot of times, man, like, again, we getting into situations based off of some emotions. And then we like, all right, cool, but this the reason why I did it, and we try to make it sound good and rational. Instead of saying, no, this was an emotional decision. I literally did not know where this would end up. Most people ain't going to admit that. We going to start saying things like it was love at first sight. No, it was not. Like, you didn't know where that was going to end up. There's always a level of uncertainty, but nobody wants to deal with that reality. We want to make it seem like we always knew that this was going to happen. You still don't know. You don't know what's going to happen a week from now. Yeah, you can speak some affirmations and try to speak some things into existence, but there are certain things that's going to happen to you that you were not able to foresee. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality of life. But we want to make it seem like we always knew something was going to happen, but no. Like, that's not necessarily the reality of the situation. You know, it sounds good, it sounds very good, but no. You know what I'm saying? But again, sometimes the truth is not that beautiful. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't deal with it. You know, so that's one thing that I feel like we gotta be more truthful to ourselves. You know, again, like, and that's the way you move forward. Like I said, you can be in a situation that started off with an emotional foundation. Y'all did things for the wrong reasons, whatever the case may be. Then it can develop into something that's fantastic. But be honest with yourself in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Be honest with yourself so that you can make the necessary improvements and the necessary evolution. At what point did I say wait years to give it up? I didn't mention a time frame at all in regards to giving anything up. I just said don't be so quick to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't put a time frame on that. I didn't put a time frame on anything that I've said. I simply said tap into oneself. And when you tap into oneself, you able to kind of know some things. Again, you're not gonna be 100% sure about it, but you're gonna be able to prevent a lot of situations when you tapped in with self. And part of the problem is we not tapped in. You know, so that is what I talked about first initially, getting tapped in with yourself, getting in tune with yourself. You know what I'm saying? And once you in tune with yourself, you make decisions based off of that. But for the most part, we are not in tune. It's impossible for you if you know what I'm saying, when you jumping from situation to situation, you haven't really had time to thoroughly sit down with yourself. Come on now, like you got to sit down with yourself, man. You got to isolate yourself in order to get in tune with like your situation and just yourself in general. You know, we ain't placing no time frame on it. But at the end of the day, if somebody wastes years to give it up, I'm not about to say that they necessarily wrong for doing that. Because again, they may be filling out the room, they may be filling out the vibes, and they not liking any of the vibes. So if somebody chooses to wait years, because again, everybody's situation may turn out differently, I'm not opposed to that. But I'm not giving somebody a time frame because again, it's not something that's universal where I can say everybody need to wait X, Y, and Z amount of time before they do something. Like, no, I'm not about to do that. But again, if somebody decides to wait years because the old girl that run track, man, what's her name? Lolo Jones. Everybody coming at her for she damn near what, 40, and she claims to still be a virgin. I mean, if she said, then we gonna roll with it being true. And everybody coming at her for that. That was her decision. I'm not about to make fun of her like everybody else. I feel like that's ignorant. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's something that's wrong with society. And with that, it creates a level of anxiety. So we dealing with all of this anxiety. We dealing with all this bad energy. And that's the type of stuff that we dealing with. You know what I'm saying? People putting time frames on things. Nah, I ain't necessarily doing that. You know, say she wanted to wait till she 40 to do that. That's on her. Like everybody don't have the same type of goals and objectives out of life. So I'm not about to create that environment of anxiety around her and make her feel bad about her decision to wait until she's 40. Because while you saying it's unrealistic, it's realistic for her, therefore she did it. You know, so again, what's unrealistic to one person could be a reality for a lot of other people. You know what I'm saying? So again, at the end of the day, I never said to put a time frame on any of that at all. But one thing I can thoroughly speak on is like that's one thing that I can thoroughly speak on is the unresolved conflicts that I know my people are dealing with. You know, and when we get in situations, we still ain't resolving these conflicts. That's why you see the mental health condition of black folks the way that it is. We not getting to the bottom of a lot of the conflicts. So that part I can speak on. So that's how I know a lot of situations are ending up the way that they are because we not getting to the bottom of the problem. You know, and we rush into situations and we trying to, you know what I'm saying? We losing ourselves in certain activities and we trying to justify that with some form of logic. That is what I'm talking about. You know how many people, like, to prove this point, you know how many people that had sex with an individual that they swear up and down that they love, and then once they get semi in tune with their situation, they realize that person was straight. Like, come on, like that's happening a lot where people then gave up the goods to the wrong people and they regretting it and this, that, and the third, because a lot of people are not tapped in and they making these decisions based on the wrong reasons. And again, we gotta do better. So part of evolving as a people is preventing the younger generation from making the same mistakes that we did. So again, like if that means encouraging the younger women to wait a little bit longer, then so be it. That's what I'm gonna have to tell folk. You know what I'm saying? Because I done seen too many sisters talk about they first 3 or 4 times, and they regretted all of them. You know what I'm saying? So we want to prevent the younger women from making these same mistakes and committing these same errors. At some point, the cycle has to break, and it starts with us. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to be dealing with a young woman and then I watch her make the same mistakes that I'm seeing other women talk to me about and mention to me, and things that that people were saying to me back in the day. Like, I don't want them to walk through that path. Just like I don't want a young man to walk through the path that I walked through and make some of the same mistakes that I made. It's a reason why I went that path. So again, if I made some terrible decisions back in the day, like part of living and learning is to pass on these jewels to the younger generation. So I did what I did, and that wasn't necessarily the best way to move. So let me get this message to the youth. You know what I'm saying? Let me preach a message of discipline to the youth. Let me encourage these young brothers not to be so quick to try to break a woman down because she's easy to get. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's more responsible than saying, hey, ain't nothing wrong with being loose out here. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing wrong as soon as you feel a connection. Man, you know how you can misread that? You know what I'm saying? You know how many times people felt like they was connected to a person and they went and did something and then that was incorrect. You know what I'm saying? I can't tell you how many times I didn't heard about, especially women, feel like they had the love of their life. You had the love of your life 10 times. You know what I'm saying? You thought you was in love 6 or 7 times. So you didn't drop the draw 6 or 7 times because you swore up and down that was the love of your life 6 or 7 times. At some point, you have got to be realizing that you are misreading and misinterpreting some things. Like, at some point, that's got to happen. Like, we have got to prevent younger generation. Like, that's the part of us living and doing what we doing. Like, seriously, that's part of it. You know what I'm saying? We got to encourage more discipline and self-control. And again, if that results in me having to tell these cats, hey, wait before, because again, we all talk about how deep sex is. You know, the sexual energy exchange, we all talk about how deep that is. And how could, like, when you do that, especially women, you know what I'm saying? We talk about how that sticks with the person. Like, they receive that energy from that guy and things like that. So we all you know what I'm saying? We all talk about how deep that is. If something is so deep, it shouldn't be so simple to get, seriously. So at some point, we got to start giving the message, okay, your body is a temple, treat it as such. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, that's what's happening. Like, back in the day, like I said, it was like situations where I could have did a bunch of things, but I chose not to. And I was looking at them, I'm like, man, why is this so easy? And this ain't no knock on my sisters, and I hate to say it, but this was back in the day, but like, it wasn't hard. And that's when I started to really reevaluate some things in life. And that's when I came to a lot of conclusions. Like, I could have been that dude out here with an enormous body count, because I started to realize, I'm like, man, it is not complicated out here. But I started to realize how traumatized a lot of women are. Like, seriously, every other woman you came across had been touched as a child. So you started to realize where this energy was coming from. And you was like, damn. Or at least I started to realize, you starting to study, you starting to come to realizations like, damn, hold on, this energy is this prominent because of this. So that's why everybody's so quick to, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, this is sick. We got to do something about that. Why are these young girls getting touched by family members? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is going on here? Like, I started to dive into those problems. You know, and again, like I said, a lot of people are not tapped in. They not disconnected. And rightfully so, like I said, you're dealing with trauma. So you dealing with a tough situation that you went through as a child. Like it was a rough situation. Rightfully so, you don't want to face it. But until you face it, like you're gonna always have a problem, like an internal problem. So you gotta face these problems, man. You gotta face these situations. You gotta face these challenges. You know what I'm saying? You gotta face the things that you went through. You know what I'm saying? So until we do that, we gonna always have these problems, man. They tell you one of the main causes of dis-ease, and I say this all the time, is unresolved conflicts. Unresolved conflicts. Mervin, I'm gonna give you a jewel, and a lot of us elders don't want to hear it, but it's a reality. The younger generation will definitely listen. The younger generation listens more than the older generation. You have a better chance of getting through to younger people than you have getting through to your own people, like the people that's your age or older. I'm telling you, I done chopped it up with a lot of youth. Again, the problem is we try to like listen. When it comes to talking to the youth, man, you just gotta learn how to connect with them. You gotta learn how to speak their language. You gotta learn how to connect with them. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta be able to adapt and adjust. You gotta speak in a language that's relevant to the era that they in. So you just gotta learn how to communicate that way. That's all. That's it. You know, you can't communicate like this was your era. Like you just gotta learn how to speak their language, and they gonna listen. They gonna listen. Contrary to popular belief, the youth, they will listen. They will listen, especially if it's your own seed. But contrary to popular belief, man, the youth is out here listening. I got a lot of young brothers that hit me up on a consistent basis that be like, man, I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Because of what you said, because of the advice you gave, I didn't made X, Y, and Z changes. This is coming from young brothers. I'm 31 going on 32. I'm getting hit up by 18, 19, 20-year-olds. That's the youth. You know what I'm saying? That's the youth. You know what I'm saying? And they listening. Those are my main messages in regards to the people that have implemented things that I have said. It comes from people about 10 years younger than me. We got to understand one thing about the youth. They looking for these role models. They looking for people to look up to. That's why they gravitate. That's why it's easier to get a young bull to go join a gang, because they looking for that father figure. You know what I'm saying? That young bull is looking for a father figure. So therefore, he going to join this gang. You know what I'm saying? Because the OG in the neighborhood was looking out for him more than any other male that was in his life and like in his family. So wherever OG is looking out for him the most, that young bull is going to gravitate toward that direction. The thing of it is, when we get to a certain point in life, we tend to turn our noses up at certain individuals. When it comes to the youth, we think we too good to talk to certain people that come from certain environments. So we turn our noses up at them. So then now they end up in the hands of this OG. You know what I'm saying? That's going to use them to commit all type of bad activities. So the youth be listening. The youth be listening. Man, the youth looking for somebody to follow. They looking for some adults to look up to and follow. They looking for that. They are looking for that. Contrary to popular belief, that young bull, when he 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, he's looking for a father figure. He's looking for somebody to look up to. He's looking for that. He's missing that. He's looking for it. You know what I'm saying? So when the right male voice comes along, he all ears to that. He like, hold up. He like, this is what I've been missing, man. I appreciate you. Same for the young girl, man. She looking for that mother figure. She also looking for that father figure. You know what I'm saying? If she don't have a legitimate father and a legitimate mother, they looking for that. They looking for that, man. So contrary to popular belief, the youth definitely will listen. They definitely will listen. They definitely will listen, man. It's gonna take time. You know what I'm saying? Because you gotta learn, like the person that you communicate with, you gotta learn them. You know what I'm saying? You gotta learn about them. But once you learn about them, man, they all ears to you. They all ears. Hold on, what are we talking about? That's life. I think the point has been missed. You know what I'm saying? In regards to saying that that's life. Like the point that I'm making We, especially again, and again, this is just analyzing women, too quick to get the emotions involved there. It's like we gotta, the way to prove the point is to analyze society and how it is. So if society was right and exact, like the numbers would reflect that. The energy of society would reflect that. It's obvious to analyze society and see that we have a problem in the black community in regards to relationships between black men and black women. Part of this problem is I have been a black man. I have been a young black boy dealing with young black women, and I have seen how simple it is to get some action as far as sex from these young black women. So I'm saying insanity would be to leave that alone and let that situation stay how it is and not say something about that. That would be insanity and expecting a different result. I have lived that young boy life. Like I know, like it's something they call it game for a reason. Hold on, yo, I'm gonna have to tap out in a minute. But yeah, it's called game for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like that's what it is. And again, the time frame is not what I'm concerned about. You know what I'm saying? Like I think the point was missed. I don't care about the time frame because I literally never put a time on it. I'm more so concerned about people getting in tune with themselves. And again, we not collectively as a people, black folks normally do not be in tune with themselves, rightfully so because of what happened to us. So we got to work on that before we work on anything else. And a lot of times we jumping in relationships and we neglecting that aspect of our reality. And that makes it easier for us to make bad decisions. So in order for us to prevent these bad decisions from being made, we got to start prioritizing people getting in tune with their feelings and emotions in themselves first. That is what I am talking about. You know what I'm saying? So when you dealing with a family and nobody is tapped in, then they keep passing that on. They keep passing that down to the children like they children gonna be making bad decisions, irrational decisions. At some point, we gotta break the cycle. And in order for us to break the cycle, we gotta start prioritizing other things. That's the point. We prioritizing the wrong thing. Again, there is no time frame that I have placed on giving something up because for really, that is really not that important in regards to what I'm talking about. What I'm more so focused on is somebody discovering their identity, their knowledge of self, things like this. And that's what I talked about earlier. You got a lot of women that they end up in a situation, know plenty of them. They end up in a situation for years, and they have neglected themselves. They have neglected their identity and their purpose. And then they 10 years in a situation, and now they blaming their kids and they blaming their spouse for their lack of identity. Well, if they would have been coached earlier in the game to focus on finding that identity and that purpose first, then we would have a different outcome. Now, you're not finna be trying to blame me for your lack of identity and your lack of purpose and things like that. And then I mentioned earlier also that if you are a guy or if you are a person and you with somebody and you know that that's the case, then you should do everything in your power to assist that person on that path. Now, again, you cannot make somebody activate or discover their identity and their purpose, but you can definitely assist them. So you want to make sure you do that. You want to make sure you do that. But for the most part, we have an identity crisis as a people. You know, that's why we losing ourselves in sex and things like that. And we trying to mask everything under this guise of love. Like everything we love, everything is love, 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 love. God damn it, we love everybody. We throwing love out like it ain't worth nothing. We throwing love out like it's the new dollar bill out here. You know what I'm saying? Love is worthless the way people be throwing it out these days. It's just as worthless as the dollar. All this love in circulation, then love is worthless. The more dollar bills we have in circulation, the less it's worth. Same with this love. All right, yeah, I think y'all can hear me now. But yeah, like we gotta, like, the priority is tapping in, centering yourself. We more impulsive, we more reactionary. So a lot of times, man, like I said, it all goes back down to marketing one-on-one. You make an emotional purchase and you justify it with logic. We are more impulsive. We got to change that. We got to be more proactive in our approach. You know what I'm saying? We trying to prevent, like, again, we making the same mistakes over and over as a population. At some point, that has to stop. So what is your lesson to the generation after you? I'm not about to tell the generation after me that everything I did in life was right and exact, and y'all want to do everything how I did it. That would be a lie. I'm not gonna ever say that, because we always have room for improvement in life. Always. We always got room for improvement. So we got to figure out where that room for improvement is in order for us to break a cycle. So I'm not going to tell it like I'm the prime example of what you need to do and how you need to be. No, I'm not. So I'm going to tell you where I messed up in life, where my flaws are as a person. And so me doing that, me looking within myself and giving you that game, you might be able to relate to what I'm saying, and I might have caught you early enough to where now you can work on yourself and you not gonna move the same way that I move. Hopefully you move a million times better than me. That's what we supposed to want for the younger generation. You know, it's all about the messages we giving to the youth, man. You know, I'm the first to tell you, I ain't perfect. You know what I'm saying? Contrary to how people view me, you know, I haven't made people say, oh, I ain't got no regrets. Nah, plenty of regrets. Regrets ain't a bad thing. You learn from them. And then you able to school people on things that, like, decisions that you made. Like, damn, I shouldn't have did that. I went to college and amassed this crazy amount of debt. Wouldn't have did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so and college is a prime example of a situation that I went through, and it's like, all right, I give information based on that bad decision that I made. I shouldn't have made that decision. I should have went another route. So I'm gonna give you that information that I wasn't necessarily given. That is how you know what I'm saying? That's how you do that. Man, I got plenty of parents right now that I train, and they kids right now are in the process of transitioning out of high school. They didn't graduated. You know, and they talking about a lot of the youth now, they not feeling like a lot of them not really feeling college. And a lot of parents are trying to force it. So I come in, I'm like, man, you might not want to do that. You know what I'm saying? If they heart is not really in it, it's like a million different ways that they can make money. And it's a million different career paths that they can gravitate towards without going this route. You know what I'm saying? Don't get in your feelings and don't try to force them to take that route. Like, that's some advice I had based off of experience, based off of me making that decision, listening to everybody else. So now when I'm talking to young bulls, that's exactly what I tell them. Or when I'm talking to the parents, that's exactly what I tell them. I don't just you're not just gonna hear me say, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, because I went to college. You know, so when people hear that I went to college and I got the degrees, they like, oh, okay, you probably gonna advocate it. No, I'm gonna tell you that I wasted a lot of time. You know, if they have to get the degree, like if they want to do something that requires them having that degree or getting that degree, that's one thing. But like if they already got that entrepreneurial type of energy, let it ride. Kevin, wait a minute, hold on. Kelvin, you say, how about a grown woman sicked her daughter on me knowing she wasn't but 16? You know what I'm saying? Sick. So now this 16-year-old scarred. You know what I'm saying? And now she gonna make a lot of irrational and impulsive decisions based off of her mom's pimping her out type deal. Stuff like that. Like, that's what I'm saying. You know? And she gonna misinterpret a lot of the decisions that she make later in life based off of that. And she not even gonna know where some of that stuff is still stemming from. This is what I'm talking about. Kevin, you say what you think the ratio of toxic, negative, ignorant people to positive people is, especially in the black community. To be honest with you, you know, y'all know the culture that I come from. We deal with 5% of the people knowing the truth. I feel like that percentage is right and exact. So we deal with 5% knowing the truth, and we deal with 85% being deaf, dumb, and blind to the truth. You know what I'm saying? So they moving in the way because they don't know any better. And we deal with the 10%, which is the bloodsuckers of the poor. They know the truth, but they intentionally teaching 85% of the population the lies. Got them believing in the lies. So they intentionally manipulating 85% of the population. So that will put the percentage at 95 in regards to people that's just moving in an ignorant fashion or lacking the knowledge. And honestly, that percentage could be very accurate. Because for the most part, a very large percentage of the people that you're going to come across, they just going to be on some vibes that's really weird. And not weird in a good way. And I'm not, again, I can't thoroughly confirm that percentage. You know what I'm saying? I can't thoroughly confirm that, but that's just the culture that I come from. So I just would give y'all that breakdown based off of the culture that I come from, the 5% culture. You know, and just through my experience, I feel like that every other person that I come across confirms that statistical situation. And that goes back to the system of the brain that I was talking about. You know, we subscribe to it, so therefore that reality is going to manifest itself a lot more frequently. But y'all, man, with that being said, man, I gotta go ahead and make the move. I gotta see what's up with this client that was supposed to be here. So I gotta tap in and see what's cracking. So I appreciate y'all tapping in with the kid, listening to this build. You know, probably gonna take a few days off, man. It's peace as usual. Couldn't get to everybody's comments today, man, but hey, I appreciate all the input, all the insight, all that good stuff, man. It's all love, but I gotta make my moves. I'm out. Y'all enjoy the rest of this Monday evening. Enjoy your Tuesday, Wednesday. I just see y'all when I see y'all at this particular point, man. But I'm out, y'all. Peace.